How is that pointing in a different direction every night you do this? That is not a word. There we go. So, all right, looking forward to. I think it's interesting as I think about this year and my plan. Like last year, we started the year with the awareness that before the year even started, I got what I needed. And the very first project that I started on was mukbangs, where I taste tested Korean food on New Year's Eve and used that so that every week I would do a taste test that I could record. I did a mukbang that I could record and upload after the because I knew I couldn't eat it all in 1 week like that. And then subsequent to that, I started the very first day of the new year with a live video that night where it was working on a book for a week. And then it was working on an animation, which never turned out quite right. And so each week we were doing a different project, and I had that worked all the way out through the whole year. The trip to Hawaii was a planned vacation week. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I needed the downtime to be able to do it. I couldn't do anything because I was traveling and my access to internet was interrupted. But we started that year with a plan, and we carried that plan as far into the year and adapted to the problems that hit us. But here's the thing. From 2019 to 2020, I had no idea what I was going to do for the year. I had no idea what I was going to do for 2020. And I tried to assemble an idea somewhere in the middle of the month of February, I think, was when I started to really try to get my feet under me about what we were going to do. And then by the end of February was when we were starting to hear topics of the pandemic. And I think it was, I think end of February and early March were family birthdays that I couldn't go to because we had all started to go into lockdown. It wasn't lockdown. It was a request that we social distance and stay home. So it feels like this year, I didn't start with a plan and I didn't know what I was doing. And I couldn't quite figure it out until the world made a choice for me that meant I couldn't really do anything. Well, that's not true. That's not fair. I could have done plenty. And I took this opportunity as I need to focus on just surviving for a little while. So that's sort of on me to a certain degree. But I do feel like it's important to keep in mind that even before this year started, I had, I want to say, dropped the ball on planning projects. And I don't want to treat it like it's, give up on doing anything this year. We've still got half of August, September, October, November, December. We got 4.5 months to do lots of interesting things. Now, subsequent to starting this year, there were some definite things that I think were interesting and useful for thinking about what I want to get away from, leave this year with. And that really is how I think it feels right now. It's not about what do I want to do in this year. It's more like, well, everything's sort of been a little rough this year. Pandemic, protests, hard drive crash and loss of materials, having caught the pandemic, um, um, canceling and rescheduling some of my plans for the year. I mean, I was going to try to go down to a few of the states that I missed on my trips to makerspaces. Who knows if they're even going to be there when this is all done? But I feel like we can't really just write this off. But by the same token, let's not pretend that we walked into this year prepared to do things. We got sloppy, and it was the perfect environment for something to come in and derail me achieving anything. But I'm not going to give in. I'm going to achieve something in this year, dang it. And if it has to be done during the course of the remainder of the year rather than what we've already done, I'm happy to do remainder of the year projects. So now I'm sort of in the position of trying to figure out, at least for the remainder of August, kind of what I would say would be what I want to walk away from 2020 having done. Like I said, 2019, we entered that year with a plan before New Year's Eve as to what we were going to do with that year. We were going to do a new project every week for a year. And we pretty much did that for about 9 of those months. Work got in the way of some of that, but I also managed to do, it sucks, like that series of exercises that I did where I did the body weight exercises and the different diets every 4 weeks. All of that's gone. I lost all that data in the hard drive crash. So there might be a few files somewhere here or there that I might be able to dig back up, but I was using the laptop for holding that information and prepping to edit it and post it. And it's gone. So if I want to do those projects, I have to do them all over again. And that really blows. But I know I can do them all over again. So, I did them the first time and they were all right. Let's see what we can figure out to do this time to make them even better than all right. And so that's something that I have on my mind. But starting my other channel, the Opportunity Forge channel, I think is where I'm going to go with some of that. So like the exercise, the diet, the stupid project I did earlier this year with the going for 2 weeks, eating nothing but mini donuts. I do have that data because that was after the crash, so I still have some of that. But I also want to do some projects along the lines of building a green screen setup and a lighting rig, maybe a boom for the mic, a few other options, and really set Opportunity Forge up as a secondary channel that's distinct in what its purpose is. It's meant to be the pursuing the creative ventures as business opportunities. Because what I do on this channel, I kind of want to maintain it as just a brainstorming and creative space. I don't want it to be this is how you do affiliate marketing to expand the reach of your channels sort of thing. And that means this channel's probably not ever going to grow huge, but that's fine. I didn't make it to grow huge. I made it so that I can play with my projects and share those with other people and share what other projects people are doing. That's my goal. And I'm fiddling with everything. I'm totally putzing around with every little fidgety little device I've got sitting around me. I need to set some of it down. But I do think that if I were to say what I want by the end of the year, I do feel like I want to be able to have brought some of my projects to fruition. I do have the images I took for my Runcible Foods card game. I have to retake a couple of them. I don't know why the images turned out the way they did. I think the focus didn't work on my camera at a certain point, so I have to redo a few of them, I think. And I need to do a specially arranged photo for the backs of the cards. And after that, I'm going to see if I can publish them through the Game Crafters website and get it up for sale and see if I can get it up and out by Christmas. I want to see also if I could do some simple build box games or dabble with some of them, but I'm not feeling the priority. I think what I talked about last night was I can do the free version of Build Box and build individual worlds, small incremental games that I can then stack the pieces together at a later date when I repurchase game Build Box subscription for a little while. I think you have to do it by the year. But I may also look into doing some of my role-playing writing that I've been doing, or the story world development that I've been working on. I may see about developing some of that into the RPG Maker stuff. So RPG Maker. I know it's not a huge oh, it looks like they're updating to a new version. MZ. Okay, so visual novel maker. I might do something with something like that too. Manga maker. Blog. They used to have the side scroller option, but they don't really have that anymore. So I may have to find a way around some of that. Because it looks like BuildBox is still currently one of the options for a coding-free side scroller design. And I don't like the price tag that BuildBox comes with. But it is what it is. That's a long-winded ramble about some of the things I'm playing around with, but none of it is what we put on the title of this video. The title of this video was about, and now my digestive system picks a fight with me. Cool. The concepts I want to pursue a little bit out of this year is sort of like what we were doing earlier, where we did a breakdown of existing pop culture and come up with story ideas for them. Only this time, what I want to try to do is come up with story ideas, not necessarily from pop culture sources, but come up with brainstorm story ideas that I could make indie films from. And part of that may be looking at making stories around the limitation of cast and crew of one. So I one of the things that wasn't a wash this year for me was I've attended more online conventions than I've ever attended in person, and partly because many of them have made themselves freely available. And so I'm kind of curious about some of the things I learned in some of those conventions. I watched and participated in some panels on indie films, and there was a indie film judging contest and voting. So you could go watch some of these indie films and vote on them if you wanted to. I didn't vote because I didn't think it was my right. I'm not anybody with any experience or familiarity with the field, so I don't have a right to be judging anybody's work yet. But I got to watch 8 or 9 short indie films, and I think 1 or 2 TV show kind of things. And some of them were just fun. Some of them are YouTube skit quality. Some of them are pretty high quality. And some of them are, oh my God. Like, I don't want to be a jerk about it because, like, I respect that they did it. I haven't made any, so they're better than I am. But some of the acting was very clunky. The script writing had huge plot holes in it. And the special effects look like they are something you could do on a YouTube budget. And these are indie films that people are releasing as indie films and shown in viewings at conventions and sometimes scheduled as what is it, a release, a limited release in theaters. All around the premise that these are people who are making films because they love the art of making films. They may not be Hollywood quality and they may not be the greatest things in the world, but I do remember when I was younger, there was a company called Tromaville Productions, and Tromaville didn't even make it to the B grade movies. We're talking C and D grade movies. The Toxic Avenger, Class of Nukem High. They're gorgeous in their silliness, in their clunkiness, and they don't take themselves too seriously either. I think that was the other thing that was fun about them. So you had these sort of, they were scripted like something high schoolers would write. They were like a pulp comic book story, like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic, or but they didn't take it super seriously. It's like that friend you knew in high school who would doodle comic book characters in their notebooks and tell you the stories of their Captain Snookums or something like that. And there was somebody who made those kinds of movies, and I kind of love it. And so there's a part of me that's like, hey, I could make bad movies and enjoy doing it. So I kind of want to do that. Now, the script we wrote for, or the script I wrote for, I can't even remember what I was calling it. The story I wrote for the animated feature that I was doing last year. I could adapt that to doing an indie film. But I also want to spend some time brainstorming up others. ones that I could do myself. And so some of that is just the fun of the challenge to figure out what could we do with a green screen, some very simple set pieces, some shots in the wood, creative transitions, some lighting tricks, some simple special effects from an editing software suite. Like, what could I make with just me? And like, that's a fun thing to puzzle over in my own head. But I think it's also a fun place to potentially just do a series of videos where we brainstorm concepts for a few scripts that I try to shoot as indie films with a zero budget, edit and assemble myself. Because that's one of the things I thought was interesting is there are different levels of story made in some of these indie films that I saw. So there were definitely, there was, what was it? One of the ones that I really liked, it had to have had a cast of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, potentially 10 actors. And they've shot predominantly, like, I think the only thing they shot was cars on the road, people in the woods, and a person in a call center. And it was a good one. I liked it. So their sets were minimal. Then there was another one where it was basically a guy in a white room talking about his life experiences, sort of like a recap of his existence with a comedic spin and him wearing silly costume pieces, taking on the roles of the other people. And that one, your cast and your sets were extremely limited. But here's the thing, like, he made it. And he not only made it, but released it as an indie film. And he made this indie film enough, and it's not the first one he's done like this. I think he's done a couple other films like that. And he made enough of a go at it that he's on panels talking about making indie films and things like that. So it feels like the community of people would be very accepting of whatever you could come up with. So there's a part of me is like, what's it going to hurt? I'm going to give it a try anyway. So the question is, what kind of scripts can I build to do that? And so scripts with little to no set, me as all the actors. I might have to do some of my own costuming design and fabrication, prop design and fabrication, but I think that it's doable. So what could we make? And I think that would be a fun thing to brainstorm in some future sessions. But by the same token, there's sort of the other direction we can go with stuff, where instead of doing any film stuff, the podcasting and audio adventure game stuff are two things that I can do for the year. And the podcasting, I think this mic is all I would really need to make sure I can do it right. Audacity and this mic, scripting, and being able to edit the audio files. And if I'm going to upload some of them to YouTube as audio stuff, just some kind of still images or some looping animation that I can use as a backdrop, or even just a slideshow of still images. And I could be ready to go with some of that, I think, definitely by the end of the year. I don't think I'll be able to produce an indie film by the end of the year. I don't know for sure. But I think 4.5 months is a bit of a tall order. But I could script one out, one or two, maybe even 3 scripts by the end of the, well, 4.5 months. Let's say 4 scripts for indie films that involve one person and a minimum of sets. Now, I do have some ideas for how to expand my ability to do indie films past that. I could make miniature sets. Like Star Wars used a lot of miniatures. So I could make miniature sets and then set myself on a green screen to interact with those environments. So I could increase my set range as long as I'm not too hung up on the idea of making it serious. Because let's be honest, it's going to look like a green screen with pictures of a model that I'm walking through. That's just what it's going to be. But that could be fun if you handle it right. So I could do more sets and environments like that. It's also possible to do some puppetry themed stuff so that I could do more than one character. Oh, I just remembered a webcomic idea I came up with years ago that was going to be done with posable figures and taking pictures and assembling them into the frames that are used in making comics. So that could be very interesting to do as a slideshow story with audio narration. So still images with, oh, that could be so fun. I could revive that idea and play with it. But, I could also do something like that with puppets. God, that would be interesting. There's a webcomic out there called Ava's Demon, and the creator of that comic hasn't updated in a while, and I hope they're all right. But she created this story, and she has a very distinctive art style in her webcomics. And then periodically in chapter heads, she has these interactive or even animated sequences that she uploads as a chapter head or end in the comic. And like I could do something similar to that. It's a lot of work. Animation is a lot of work. And unless I have the free time, which I don't think I'm going to have a lot of over the next 4 months, if we're going back into a retail season like we had last year, I can easily foresee that my time will be a very premium. But I can use some of those thought processes of making models, taking the images of them, and occasionally doing some stop motion or puppetry. Could be a very interesting approach to doing some of that format. The voiceover and audio stuff would be something that I could use to make still images and audio work as a YouTube thing. So what I'm kind of thinking of right now, right here with this is, if I did something like my the comic idea that I came up with years ago, I could make figures, pose them, take the pictures, make a web comic from it with word bubbles and whatnot around it, and then periodically maybe do a small stop motion animation of a certain scene and integrate that into the webcomic. But I could also take the still images and use them as slides for a slideshow that I narrate and make the audio voiceovers for as a YouTube video. It doesn't quite qualify as an indie film at that point, unless I'm doing puppetry and stop motion stories and making a short, like an animated short. Sort of like the stuff they put at the beginning of Pixar movies, the shorts that they make. I could do something like that, maybe, but I think overall, the indie films are going to be predominantly me, a green screen, some props, costuming. Now, when I say costuming, one of the things I am referring to is I could conceivably play more than one character. So if I did a setting where there was a human, an alien, and a robot, I could be all three with the right makeup techniques. And there are simple tricks of editing that you can put yourself, you can clone yourself essentially in video editing. There are some people who've done stuff like that where it's been them and then another them having an argument and some of those things that go on in that situation. Like teaching myself how to do some of those tricks with the compounding it of being able to script a story that has a limited cast, a limited number of sets. Yeah, didn't think that worked out right. A limited cast, a limited number of sets, and he's fighting me now. I should be able to construct a setting and a story that I should be able to shoot myself with limited resources, limited cast, limited sets. I do think it would be kind of interesting to see if I could get some of my friends to voice act certain components. So if I do, like we were talking during one of my brainstorming sessions, the alternative to Toy Story that we did, the idea for that setting that we did this last time was the artist. Like I had repurposed some simple pieces from an idea I had before for making a new one. So I have two ideas that I could pursue in that venue. And they should be something doable with a very limited cast. Now, the one we brainstormed this last time, the replacement for Toy Story, where it was paintings or artworks that come to life and interact with our environment. That's going to need at least 3 characters. Now, I could theoretically just do various makeup bits and be different characters, but I do think that if you relax that restriction and move out even to 5 to 7 different characters and some background characters, whatever, that with that in mind, I could voice several of them if they're puppets. So they look distinct, they sound distinct because they do different voices for each of them. I should be able to get a whole story out of that. And part of that would be miniatures, sets, and some green screening tricks with puppetry and voiceover in such a way that I could probably pull it off. The biggest problem with that is space. Where am I going to set up? Where am I going to design my sets? Store them, shoot on the sets, and then put the sets when I'm done with them. Do I tear them down and whatnot? I mean, the simple equivalent of that for doing an indie film based off of that idea, the simplest path you could take to do that would be to do something like a Lego sets or flat pack. Oh, there were some ideas I had a while back where they're sort of like pop-up books. There you go. That's a way of referring to it. Pop-up book sets. And you build them like a book, and you can open to your set it up, film the set the way it needs to be filmed, and then you green screen in the actors or the puppets or the animation. That would be an interesting thing to play with a little bit. I wonder what I could do with that. There's some real possibilities with that. But at the same time, the podcasting stuff is of interest to me recently because I did see some stuff about some of the podcast opportunities, and it seems like a really low barrier to entry, because it is like literally, if I really just wanted to get started, Audacity and this mic. Audacity's free. I can download it and start playing with it. And the thing is, the things I want to do are different enough than what most people are doing that I think I'm carving my own niche in it. But I'm very curious to see what I could do with it. That's something I can get more of it off the ground before the end of the year. The indie film stuff, I can script and start doing some of the designs for. And that could be fun to do on here during the nights. I think it would be fun to sit down and just go, all right, so let's start working on a script. What are we going to do for an indie film? And figure out what we can do with what we have. I think that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. Like I said, I think I'm trying to trim back, not doing every night here, because it seems like I'm not able to make that happen on a regular basis. And so if I just try to set a regular schedule that I can commit to, I'm thinking Tuesday, Thursday, and I'm not sure if Saturday or Sunday makes more sense. Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday? Yeah, that probably makes more sense. Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. Because I pretty much have Sundays and Tuesdays to myself. And Thursdays would be a work day. But not usually so bad that I couldn't still come on by 11:30. So I think what I'm going to do for now is say, let's just step it back to Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. Today's Tuesday, right? I think so. I don't know where I am in the week right now. So Tuesday, I guess I'm off tomorrow night. And I'll save up anything I might feel like chatting about. We'll see how long this lasts. I'm interested enough in all sorts of different things that I'll probably be going stir crazy to want to talk about some of the things I want to do. But see if I can hold off till Thursday. And then Thursday night, we'll do a video here. And if I reach a point where I feel like I need to do another video, I might do some of the daytime stuff. Oh, well, today is technically Wednesday, yes. Don't freak me out like that, dude. Please. Yeah, it's technically Wednesday right now. Holy crap. Did you see the panic in my face? I'm supposed to work Wednesday. Yeah, I am. I'm going to work later today. It's just the day I have just finished is a Tuesday. Whew. Okay, that's good. Yeah. I'm going to get something to eat and then I'm going to bed because I have to work on Wednesday. Yeah. Anyway. Well, it is technically Wednesday here. It's 12:32 for me here. And so it's 12:32 in the morning on Wednesday. You are right. It is Wednesday. It just so happens. Well, I had an appointment today, and those appointments I usually set for Tuesdays because those are not work days. So I try to get all my stuff done on Tuesdays. It's like my day off. And I had that earlier today. So I kind of knew that today was my day off, which means it's Tuesday. But as soon as you said it was Wednesday, I had that moment of panic. What if I was wrong? What if I'm remembering things wrong? Oh God, what if it's Wednesday and I skipped work not knowing it? Oh God, my boss is going to kill me. That was fun. I appreciate that. Thank you. Alrighty. It's 42 minutes in for the night. I think I'll probably call it here. And I think we're gonna I think Thursday night, when I pop back on here for video, I will do a little more discussion of what we're going to do during the videos now. Now that we have a plan, it's not really a plan, it's a goal. I'm going to try to make something out of 2020 to develop some scripts that I can shoot as indie films in the coming year, but also start up a podcast site or upload podcasts to a site that I can use to create some of my quizzes, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire style quizzes. I did a little research and it looks like there's a fair number of software pieces that you can use to filter high-end and low-end sounds through. So it's possible to filter high-end and low-end with an app on a phone. And it's also possible to isolate an audio channel left or right. So theoretically, and I don't have enough experience with this, but theoretically, it should be doable to build an app that you can use on your phone. Do I have my phone on me? No. To use your phone. What do we got that can look like a phone? Nothing. So I can build an app that you can have on your phone where you can touch top, bottom, and center. And it's essentially 5 buttons on a controller. Those 5 buttons could be left high end, left low end, right high end, right low end, all channels. So you'd start out all channels of audio, and then you would do something along the lines of, this week we're going to be quizzing your knowledge on Starlight, the mythical material of such and such a creator. Now, Starlight is said to have been made out of 1, 2, 3, or 4. Pick which one. Pick that one, you hit that button, and it takes you to the track that tells you whether or not that is what it's thought to be made out of. And then it would say at the end of that one, now hit the middle button to take you back to the next question. And so that would be something I could potentially do with an app. And that gives you 4 choices. I mean, the middle channel is not really, well, I might be able to make the middle channel a viable channel. If I tweak the audio so that you do high-end filtering past a certain point, low-end filtering past a certain point, and then right and left audio channels doing that. But if I build the audio such that there's a gap between the high-end and the low-end filtration, I could use a high-end, low-end middle filter to just isolate a set frequency and isolate those sounds coming out of an audio system. I wonder if I can build in a piece of information that would bend those after the fact. So if I built an audio game where I had high-end, low-end, high-end, low-end, and then I had middle ground, and I used those, the high-end is going to have a higher pitched voice that you're going to hear like this because it's going to need to isolate just the high end of that. And the low end is going to have a low rumbly voice. Now I wonder if there's a way that I can isolate those voices tracks and then in the software of the app bend them back towards the middle so that they sound normal, but you're pulling from a certain set of the original audio sequence. That's a possibility. If that's the case, I might be able to do not indefinite number of tracks, but upwards of 7 to 9 tracks. And if I had those options, wow, I could do a whole load of choose your own adventure style stuff, which is probably, I'll probably end up doing a lot of my choose your own adventure style concepts on podcast first. Eventually, I could probably cycle back around to seeing if I can do them as slideshows with the audio tracks as YouTube videos. Yeah, we're almost approaching 50 minutes, so I should probably call it here for tonight. I guess I'll see you again on Thursday night. Hope you're doing well. Hope you don't mind the shift to fewer videos. I guess it's technically the same number because I keep skipping days because I can't get to do stuff all the time. But hope you don't mind the renovations to the schedule. And hope you're doing well. I want you to take care of yourself. Stay cool in the hot. Stay safe in the crazy. And stay healthy in the sick world. So until next time, take care and have a good night. I am starting to hurt everywhere, so I probably got too many nightshade vegetables over the last week. Alrighty, so I should probably... I eat too many of the bad things because I get so much of it. All right, take care. See you on Thursday. Hi.